Laboratory animals MLS. Laboratory animals are those distinguished from other animals by their intended use in research, teaching, or testing, and in some cases because they possess specialized anatomical, genetical, physiological, or metabolic conditions that differ from other members of the same species. While the term laboratory animals could potentially include a wide range of wild and domestic species used for food and fiber production or kept as pets in practice, the term is generally applied to those animals with a defined health and genetic status, and usually purpose-bred for their intended uses in research. An animal used or intended for use in a procedure shall be provided with accommodation, an environment, at least a minimum of freedom of movement, food, water, and care, appropriate to its health and well-being. Any restriction on the extent to which an animal can satisfy its physiological and etiological needs shall be limited as far as practicable. Sources of animals. Under the 1986 Act, the following commonly used species that are bred for laboratory use include the mouse, the rat, guinea pig, hamster, rabbit, and primates must be obtained from designated breeding or supply establishments. Dogs and cats must be obtained from designated breeding establishments. Cattle, sheep, pig, horses, poultry, and other birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish may be obtained from specialist breeders or other commercial sources. Take note of the year of the Act, 1986 Act. The animal house. An animal house should be designed and sited and constructed to provide a suitable environment, including a special requirements or exercise or social contact of species to be housed, and should incorporate facilities sufficient for the activities carried out within it. When siting an animal house, concentration should be given to the activities in the adjacent buildings and any effect this may have on the welfare of the animals. That simply means if the place you're going to build an animal house it's going to be noisy, then you shouldn't. An animal facility forming a part of a larger complex should be designed to be self-contained and to prevent access by an unauthorized persons. Wild, stray, or pet animals should not be able to gain entry to any part of the animal house, including stores and personnel areas. Special care should be taken where drinks and other services pierce the walls and floors. Don't know what it means there. Security. The animal house and its facilities should be designed to prevent animals escaping. It has also proved necessary to protect animal facilities against illegal entry. Animal rooms. For the purpose of the guidelines, or for the purpose of these guidelines, an animal room means the room normally used to house laboratory animals for breeding, as stock, or for procedures other than surgical. In general, major surgeries or euthanasia should not be performed in rooms where animals are normally housed or where other conscious animals are undergoing procedures. Animal rooms should be constructed of impervious materials with easily cleanable surfaces that are resistant to attack from chemicals used to clean or fumigate the rooms. The environment. Ventilation and humidity control are important to the welfare of animals. Temperature should be controlled to ensure that animals do not suffer from either heat or cold stress. Temperature. Animal room temperature should be continuously monitored and checked at least once daily. The recommended limit within which room temperature should generally be maintained when the outside temperature is between -2 degrees centigrade and +27 degrees Celsius. Adults and their optimal range in degrees Celsius. 1. Non-human New World as primates. You can keep them between 20 to 28 degrees Celsius. Non-human Old World primate between 15 to 24 degrees Celsius. Mouse between 19 to 22 degrees Celsius. Rats between 19 to 23 degrees Celsius. Hamsters between 19 to 23 degrees Celsius. Gibbon between 19 to 23 Celsius. Guinea pig 19 to 23 Celsius. Rabbits 16 to 20. Small bird 19 to 23. Quail 16 to 23. Pigeon 15 to 24. Domestic fowl and duck 12 to 24. 12 to 24. Cat, dog, pig 15 to 24. Ferret 15 to 24. Goat, sheep, cattle, and fox 10 to 24. Relative humidity. Extreme variations in relative humidity can have adverse effects on the well-being of animals, and by affecting the rate of heat loss can influence activity and food intake. The relative humidity in animal room should normally be maintained at 55 plus or minus 10% irrespective of stocking density. Prolonged period below 40% or above 70% should be avoided. Ventilation. The functions of ventilation system are 1. To regulate within prescribed limits temperature and humidity. 2. To reduce the level and spread of odor, gases, dust, and infectious agents. 3. To provide sufficient air of an appropriate quality. The ventilation range of the room should be related to its stocking density and to the heat generated by the equipment in the room. So if you want to talk about the ventilation, whatever ventilation you're going to do for an animal house, it should be equivalent to the stocking density and to the heat that's going to be produced in that room. And the purpose of this ventilation, 1, is to reduce the heat level and gases, the spread of odor, the inserting agents, and so on, to provide an sufficient air that will go around the place, and also to regulate the within prescribed limit temperature and humidity in the room. Lightning. Most laboratory mammals are either crepuscular or nocturnal. Their eyes are adapted therefore to dim light conditions, and few of them, other than primates and perhaps cats, have any color vision. Light-induced retinal damage occur principally in albino animals, most severely when recovery periods in the dark are too short. The 3 important aspects of light are its intensity, wavelength, and photo period. The 3 important aspects of light: intensity, wavelength, and photo period. Take note of that. The 3 important aspects of light are intensity, wavelength, and photo period. And we say laboratory animals can either be crepuscular or nocturnal. So what is crepuscular? What is crepuscular? Is it crepuscular? Let me check that. Crepuscular. Tweet lights. It's resembling tweet light or dim, active at or around dusk, dawn, or tweet light. Okay, crepuscular means when they are active by dawn or tweet lights. Tweet light is the soft light in the sky seen before the rising, and especially after the setting of the sun, occasioned by the illumination of the Earth's atmosphere by the direct rays of the sun and the reflection on the earth. Then when we say an animal is nocturnal, that means it performs best in the night. Nocturnal. 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 Primarily active during the night, like I said. So that's just it. So light-induced retinal. Okay, I've read that. Sorry. Noise. Let's go to noise now. The significance of noise and its importance to laboratory animals are loved. The significance of noise and its importance to laboratory animals are loud, unexpected, and unfamiliar sounds are probably more destructive than proper sound. There is no indication that constant background noise, such as gas generated by air conditioning and cylinder equipment, is harmful to animals, providing it is not too loud. If it is not too loud, the ability of such sound to max noise is, however, unproved. Animal care and health. Transportation. Stress during transportation should be minimized by making animals as comfortable as possible in their containers, and if confinement should be prolonged, by providing food and water. Time in transit should be kept for a minimum. The sender should ensure that animals to be transported are in good health and adequately labeled. Animals that are incompatible should not be transported together. Sick or injured animals should be transported only for purposes of treatment, diagnosis, or emergency slaughter. Pregnant animals need special care. Farm animals should not normally be transported during the last week of pregnancy, and small animals in the last fifth of pregnancy. Reception. Animals should be removed from their transport containers with the least possible delay after inspection. The animals should be transferred to clean cages and pens and be supplied with food and water as appropriate. Animals that are sick, injured, or otherwise out of condition must be kept under close observation, housed separately, and examined by veterinary surgeon or other competent person as soon as possible. A record should be made of animal received, their source and date of arrival. Animals should be identified by cage labeling in case of rodent and other small laboratory animals. Dogs, cats, primates, and farm animals, if not already identified, marked should be allocated individual numbers, e.g., by tattooing or air tolling. If permanent marking is not practicable, e.g., in marmosets, the animals should be filled with a collar or necklace bearing its number, acclimatization, and quarantine. Acclimatization is necessary for an animal to overcome the stress imposed by transport or subsequent exposure to new environment with different diet, microflora, and exchange of human contact before subjecting it to different scientific procedure. The period time required will vary according to circumstances and should be determined by the user in consultation with the animal house manager. Bedding and nesting material. Bedding should be comfortable for the particular species, dried, absorbent, not dusty, not toxic, and free from infections agent, venin, and other forms of contaminations. Sawdust or shavings should not be derived from wood that has been treated with chemicals. Nesting material should provide insulation but cause no hazard to the young or adult animal. Where large animals are housed on concrete, cattle mats should be used to prevent pressure. Food. Diet should be formulated to satisfy the nutritional requirement of the animal. In the selection, the production, and preparation of food, precautions should be taken to avoid chemical, physical, and microbiological contamination. Food should, when appropriate, be packed in sealed bags and are stamped with the production date. Packing, transport, and storage should avoid contamination, deterioration, or destruction of the food. Perishable foods to be stored in cold rooms, refrigerators, or freezers. Diet for disease. Free animals should be treated to destroy vegetative organisms, parasites, pests, and spores. Diets for germ-free or no-goobliotics animals must be sterilized by autoclaving or irradiating. All food hoppers and utensils should be cleaned regularly and their sterilization considered. If moist food is used, if it is easily contaminated, daily cleaning is essential. The method of feeding will vary according to the species, where animals are held in groups. Care should be taken to ensure that subordinate animals have adequate access to food and water. Consideration should be given to the avoidance of obesity by controlling food intake. Water. Potable water should normally be available to all animals at all times. It is usually provided in water bottles or other containers or by automatic system. During transport, it is acceptable in some cases to provide water in the form of a moist diet. Water is a vehicle for microorganisms, and the method of supply should minimize the hazard. When bottles are used, they should be sterilizable and transparent or translucent to enable their contents to be observed. There should be wide mouth for easy cleansing. If plastic material is used, it should be resistant to leaching and suitable for sterilization. Caps, stoppers, and pipes should also be sterilizable and easy to clean. All bottles and accessories should be dismantled, cleaned, and sterilized at intervals. Bottles should be replaced by clean, full ones rather than being topped up in the animal presence. Water containers should not tip or spill easily. The operation of automatic systems should be checked daily. They should be properly served and cleaned regularly to avoid malfunctioning and risks of spread of infection. The water system should be monitored for quality and purity to avoid bacterial contamination. If solid bottom cages are used, precautions should be taken to avoid flooding. Emergency supplies should be available in case pipes freeze or supplies otherwise fail. The successful keeping of fish in the laboratory depends upon maintaining water quality within the range that will allow the survival and growth. Uneaten food debris and excretory products must be removed from the tanks, and the disclosed oxygen concentration should be maintained at least 5 mg per liter. The tolerance of fish, amphibians, and reptiles changes in pH, chlorine, and other chemicals differs widely on species to species, and water quality in aquarium and tanks must take account of these different needs and tolerance limits. Hallelujah. I'm done.